Actually, I was delighted to listen to yours because, to some extent, what he was proposing in very great detail, as always a conscientious lawyer speaking when he is addressing us, is very detailed and very, I think, also doable, concrete. I'd like to step a little bit outside of the box, as I'm suggesting here, and I'm also aware of the risk that that might entail. As my dear colleague with whom I teach at Sciences Po in Paris, Jean-Jacques Heller, said, it can be dangerous to come with new ideas too early. But I'd be happy to take the heat, if there is any heat to take, after making my short presentation. I have a background in both fields. And the first one here being an analysis looking at, going back to 2005, whether transnational companies' decisions to invest abroad has any positive correlation with the clean development mechanism. And the results were no. And so as far as I can see from the most recent research, it hasn't improved. These are two separate entities, even though one was hoping they will be showing some synergy. I'm looking at possible interdependencies and how could energy, environment, and development make sense, with the example of Bolivia as an example. And also we published recently on looking at the bridge that could be built between WTO and UNFCCC. And that was subsequent to my being part of the think tank at UNCTAD last year when the new World Investment Report was written, which had as its special theme, as most of you know, low carbon investment. So I'd like to suggest that we need to have effective governance regimes to address climate change. And we don't have it. I think there's something about market failure that we all, it's now almost a platitude. We know that the externalities are not included in the price in terms of market transactions, but what to do about it is another issue. But what we know is, as a Swiss, going up, sometimes up to the mountains, I do trust the Swiss scientists to report melting and shortening of our glaciers. I know it's true elsewhere. I don't put into question that climate change is happening, and the question now is, are we going to do something about it or continue to discuss it and discuss it and discuss it? So from my point of view, it's not clear if there's going to be an economic governance reform that will actually do something about stopping climate change. We heard in December 2009, most of the members agreed we need to set a target. And if we don't reach that target, the likelihood of environmental disasters increases. Many of us this morning heard, and I think most of us also agree, the turbulence in the environment has increased, and we most likely do see climate change in action, and probably it will get worse, not better. Now, many have thought of and made contributions what to do about climate change. We have different fields of expertise. On this slide, I'm trying to put in the middle low carbon investments. How could we encourage, maybe make it happen that transnational companies, also some state enterprise, invest in a sensible, meaning environmentally friendly manner. We have research has been done about government regulatory work. We have people who look at business, from a business side, at the market price and how to price transactions that it would lead more to low carbon investment. We have civil society groups, like at Oxford, for instance, who thought about giving each citizen a maximum, sort of a consumer maximum allowance for carbon, and based on that model, maybe the consumption patterns could be changed. We have the different international organizations who have maybe not a direct mandate about the environment, but do have at the same time related working groups, or as here in the WTO, a whole division which looks at the environment. And then above this circle are these multilateral environmental agreements. We also talked about them. It's not only, of course, the UNFCCC and Kyoto Protocol. There are the endangered species. There are different other multilateral environmental agreements. The question is, how do they relate with each other and how could they positively impact each other? Last year, a colleague, Richard Baldwin, ventured out with the proposal that there could be a collision of two trains, one being the WTO, the other one being the UNFCCC. I disagreed with him already then, and I think it's becoming more apparent. We're not seeing two trains rolling fast against each other. I think the trains are more and more disappearing in the horizon. And I see more a decoupling of the wagons. They all go off in different directions, whether it's the WTO or whether it's the UNFCCC. The fragmentation is very apparent. So we're talking also about market failures and non-market failures. And I think we should think about that the governments need to better manage themselves. We can also talk about governance failure, that we don't know how our government could better organize itself. So environment is part of other related sectors when they come about doing policy and the plan for the future. Actually, if I just want to summarize quickly, when we talk about failure, to me, there's market failure, that's nothing new. There's governance failure, that's somewhat also nothing new. But we also have regime failure. WTO, UNFCCC, to me, are dragging on. There's something wrong about the process, and there are many people who have made much clever and better analysis why this is so. And we have also an international governance failure. We don't bridge these regimes in a meaningful way. They're all standalone regimes, governance, agreement regimes. So we should find a way to look at links between trade and climate change. Where do the conflicts manifest themselves in terms of the lack of coherence, the lack of linking up the different regimes? There are suggestions which have been made, and we also mentioned this morning. Some are within the WTO agreed procedures and articles. Some go beyond. But there have been proposals made. And here's what I would like to table today. These are my 5 cents. I think let's bring back TRINs. It's a topic which is taboo. I'm aware of that. It's been finished. It's out. Why not bring it back and make it focused on low carbon investment? TRIPS. Let's make it TRIPS too. Imagine compulsory licensing is possible for developing countries so they can tap into the latest high tech in order to address the environmental challenges that they have to take care of. Why not think of a plurilateral solution? That's also nothing new. I said that already 2 years ago. I've been told by our dear friends from WTO there's only one deal or no deal. I think now Joost also mentioned it. Plurilateral has become more okay to mention. I propose a trisectoral plurilateral to combine within this house energy, environment, and trade and development. Say a bit more about it. TRINs should allow the developing countries to protect infant industries that they might have or might want to set up about producing carbon reduction technology so they themselves can do something about the environmental challenges. Green TRIPS, double TRIPS. As we have it already, we have access to technology, and even if it has to be through compulsory licensing. Because after all, the environment and climate change doesn't know boundaries, whether it's a big or small country. We have to think on a global scale. And why not combine these 3 items? We have energy. It escapes me why the heck the group which is working on energy can't, even after 10 years, still not agree on the categorization of energy goods. hopefully they come back and do a bit more work to get at least that finished. We have goods and services, we have environment, goods and services, we have trade. We all know that many of the poor developing countries who face the costs of environmental change, they need something in exchange for cooperating. And they need access to energy. It's also, I'm not the first one to mention that, so why not put this into a package and make sense out of packaging things that could be put together. UNFCCC, frankly, I've followed UNFCCC, I've been to several COPs. I don't expect much to come out of UNFCCC in the coming years. That negotiation has reached impasse. But they are now mentioning trade. I think it's long overdue. We cannot only think of climate change without trade. On the trade side, we cannot think anymore, in light of the current climate change, we cannot think of trade anymore alone without linking it also to environment. So putting this together within WTO, not at UNFCCC, to me would make most sense. And you've seen recently when the EU suggested to include the airline business, the airline sector in its scheme of CO2 credits, the reaction was instantaneously by India and 20 other countries. Fine, I think it shows when trade is at stake, countries move. So let's use this as a handle to go beyond current WTO agreements. Do, as also Joost mentioned before, imagine some plurilateral deals, add some things which are non-conventional, such as TRIPS Plus and TRIMS Plus, and I think we could then get somewhere. Thank you very much.